This person, among others, is asking, what my relationship with my brother is like, and it is non-existent. I haven't spoken to my brother in 27, almost 28 years. My brother and I were close when we were kids, and then my parents got a divorce. I became my mother's punching bag. My brother became the golden child. He's 5 years younger than me. And I ran away from home. Custody was then split. I went to live with my father. My brother stayed with my mother, and my brother and I started to grow apart. My brother really went towards my mother's side of the family, and I always gravitated towards my father's side of the family with great affection towards my mother's side of the family for most of my life. And my brother and I just became very, very different people. And my mother manipulated my brother. My brother played like soccer, and I think he might have ran track. I don't know, but I know he played soccer. And my father would call my mother and ask about his games, and my mother would give him wrong fields or wrong dates or wrong times. And then as a result, my father would never actually make it to the games because he would be at the wrong field, the wrong date, the wrong time. And then she would say things to my brother like, see, he doesn't love you. And as a result, my brother became extraordinarily bitter towards my father. I already knew what my relationship was like with my mother. And then my brother went off to college, and my father and stepmother tried to continue to have a relationship with him and support him and sent him a little bit of money every month. And my brother would show up around April when it was his birthday to get his birthday check, and he would show up around Christmas when it was time to get a little Christmas booster money, a gift, something. But he would really generally have nothing to do with my father other than that. And I brought that to my father's attention. And my father, told him, hey, I think that you're just using me for the money. I only see you when it's time to get some money. And I want to talk to you about what our relationship is. And my brother basically told my father, we don't have a relationship. Our relationship is you giving me money. And if you're not going to give me money anymore, then we don't have a relationship. And so that faded away. And then ultimately, I met Renee, and Renee was going through a tough time in her life. She was in the process of getting a divorce when we met, and she wasn't sure she wanted to settle down, and I was sure I wanted to settle down. So that first year Renee and I were together, we weren't really truly exclusive. Renee was still seeing other people, but I was just interested in her. And it took a toll on me to a degree, and my brother and my mother were like, basically, fuck that hoe. Stop fucking with her. And I'm like, no, this is the woman that I want to marry. Stop fucking talking about her that way. And it just kind of escalated and escalated and escalated to the point where I, went with Renee rather than going with my own family. Because, we were on again, off again for years to begin with. And nobody dictates to me what I'm going to do with my life. So my brother and I amped up and escalated and escalated and escalated. And the last time he and I were in a room together, it was in the living room of my mother's condo. Coach home is technically what it's called. And we were on the floor of the living room fighting. That was 27 years ago. I saw him a couple of days after that at a stoplight, got out of my car and kicked his fucking door. I haven't seen or heard from him since. He's since gotten married, had 3 kids, lives in the western suburbs, somewhere over here, but we're just different human beings. We're just different. My brother was one of those guys that was always interested in keeping up with the Joneses, wearing the latest fashions, watching the latest shows, driving the latest cars, eating at the latest restaurants. It was always about keeping up, right? And I was never into that shit. I was always the black sheep. I didn't give a shit about that stuff. And so I didn't really fit in with my mom's side of the family, which was really predominantly all about keeping up. It's not that they're bad people. It's just that that's who they were. They were about keeping up with shit and making sure that appearances were what they needed to be. My dad's side of the family was country, was redneck, was backwoods, and it was like, and that's the side that I always took to more. I know you guys see me as a Chicago guy, but growing up, that's the side of the family I took to more, was my father's side of the family. It was that rural, that country side of the family. So we naturally just didn't see eye to eye, and we just split. We my brother and I diverged in life before he turned 10. When I was in my when I was 13 years old, right? We stopped living together, and our lives went on very, very separate. Sorry for the hiccups in the video. There's a lot of noise being made out in the hallway, and so I had to stop. Our lives are non-existent. I've never met his kids. He's met my kids a couple of times. Like Renee took Maggie to my mom's funeral, and I think he met Maggie and Lily, I think, one or two other times before that. Obviously, my aunt and my cousins, or my aunt, my uncle, and one of my cousins had met my kids several times. But I couldn't pick his kids out of a crowd, and I don't think he could pick my kids out of a crowd. And at this point in our lives, him in his late 40s, me in my early 50s, I don't think that there's any reason whatsoever for us to even try to make that connection again. There's just no point in it. Blood does not mean family. Family has a completely different meaning. It is the people that are there for you. It is the people that create and make up your tribe. He's not part of my family. He hasn't been for almost 3 decades. And he's not going to be part of my family ever again.